Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. I'm Nick Park and I'm fascinated by the different kinds of churches that you can find in different locations. It seems like no matter what group of people there are, God will raise up a church that can reach them with the gospel of Jesus Christ. I heard recently about a church in Nashville, Tennessee, pastored by a guy called Kevin Burns. Now, Kevin Burns pastors the Church of Life in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's a congregation like no other. And the reason is because Kevin Burns, this pastor, is a prisoner. He's a prisoner on death row. He was convicted in 1995 of felony murder. Now, what felony murder doesn't have to prove that you actually committed the act that killed somebody, but you were there at the scene and part of a group of people where murder was committed. And Pastor Kevin Burns, who wasn't a pastor then, but he was part of a group of people who killed two young men. He maintains that he did not actually do the killing, but he admits he was there. And for that, he was sentenced to death, and he's been on death row ever since. And all his congregation is prisoners on death row in that same prison in Tennessee. Basically, he's led other prisoners to the Lord, and he's planted a church on death row. Now, that church may be looking for a new pastor soon, because Pastor Kevin Burns, he's now exhausted all of his legal appeals, and the state of Tennessee has asked for a date to be set for his execution. He does have a deacon in the church, but the church is losing its deacon. His name was Purvis Payne, and he was actually scheduled to be executed back in 2020. But when COVID-19 hit, the executions were all postponed, and so he was not killed when he was at the date that he was supposed to be executed. And since then, there was a law brought in Tennessee that the death penalty could not be applied to people with intellectual difficulties, which included Purvis Payne, and so his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment, to 2 terms of life imprisonment. But he is actually coming up, has parole eligible, and may well be released on parole by the time his pastor, Kevin, is executed. Pastoring a church, sometimes people come and people go. And in some settings, that much harder. I know pastors, for example, who have churches in university towns where most of the church members are students. And they come to college for 3-4 years and then they leave again. So they have a real high turnover. The same is true of pastors I know who pastor on American military bases overseas, where people might come in for a 3-year term of duty and then fly back to the States. So they're constantly seeing their church members coming and going, a huge turnover in membership. But perhaps this Church of Life on death row in the prison in Nashville has a turnover like no other, as members are executed and as even the pastor is now facing execution. Whatever you think about the death penalty, whatever you feel about Pastor Kevin Burns and the fact that he's being able to rebuild his life and serve people and know Jesus Christ and serve Jesus Christ after being convicted of murder, one thing is for certain: there's no group of people that God does not love enough to send somebody to preach the gospel to them. Jesus said we are to take the gospel to all nations, panta ta ethna, and that means all people groups, all ethnic groups and all little subgroups, and even people on death row. I pray that today God will lay somebody on your heart, maybe somebody that the church isn't currently reaching, maybe somebody that doesn't actually have any witness going forth in any meaningful way to them now. May God raise you up to be a voice to share the good news of Jesus with them. And whatever happens with Pastor Kevin Burns, whether his sentence is commuted, whether it's carried out and he is executed, I thank God that God took a man whose life was broken and seemingly absolutely without purpose, and has used him to touch and change the lives of others. And for that we give God the glory. God bless you today. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.